This Sunday's readings are all about preaching the truth in love and correcting your brother or sister. I can't think of a time in my 43 years of life when doing so was so polemical and so political as it is today. In the past, I remember being able to sit down with family of different political persuasions and opinions, and discussing our differences was not the end of a marriage, the disruption of a family, the culmination of the destruction of a friendship. But now it is. Today, people go to war, literally, throwing fists and shooting guns over political opinions and differences and ideologies. We've reached a climax in our country of tension within our families and within our church. It seems like we're divided now more than ever. And yet the scriptures today demand that we speak the truth, but in love. If we don't correct our brother or sister, we bear the responsibility for the loss of their salvation. But the second reading reminds us that we must do so with love. When it comes to politics, it's all the more complicated. Politicians change. They say one thing and may do another. Where's the truth in all of this? We can get caught up in what politicians say and lose sight of what actually happens during their tenure, which is oftentimes the opposite of what they say on some issues. I'll be giving you some websites below the link here just to look at. As we prepare to vote this November, we will be giving you the document from the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops, Forming Consciences for Faithful Citizenship. There are a lot of prominent priests out there today on the internet telling you who to vote for. You're not going to hear that from me. We all have a fundamental moral obligation to inform our consciences, to pray, and to vote to the best of our ability, mindful of what we've learned and prayed about, and also mindful of the fact that a politician may say one thing and do the complete opposite once they're president. The issue of abortion certainly is one of the most controversial and passionate issues today, especially within the church. We must do everything we can to put an end to surgical and chemical abortions and abortions of all kinds and their support. When it comes to that issue, it couldn't be more clear which candidate supports what. And yet, the statistical data proves that every time a Democrat was president, surgical abortions diminished in the United States. And when there was a Republican president, they increased. The pro-abortion President Obama, at the end of 8 years of his presidency, brought our country to the lowest number of abortions per 1,000 women in the history of our country since Roe v. Wade. According to the Heritage Institute, not a statistical think tank, so I share that with you questionably with a lot of caveats and beware, but according to this pro-Christian source, the greatest number of surgical abortions by Planned Parenthood in their history has happened under President Trump, who's touted as the pro-life president, anti-abortion at least, I think would be more accurate. Or maybe you're concerned about immigration. The pro-immigration president, Obama, more undocumented immigrants were deported under his 8 years than under President Bush or under President Trump. Politicians say one thing, but other things happen in the background for whatever reasons, and oftentimes they're contradictory. My point is, we can't just believe what a politician says, or believe what the extension of their opinions say via the media, left or right. I encourage you to look up statistical data. Look up the statistical data of the opposing views and opinions, research think tanks. They'll tend to be very honest about something you don't agree with and give you accurate numbers. Or the Pew Research Institute. Try to find the data to support your opinions and see how it shows and plays out under the different presidents. Because as we know, it's easy and an obligation for us to vote about one specific issue that's black and white, written on paper, like in Colorado coming up to put an end to late-term abortion. We must vote against that. We must vote in favor of ending late-term abortion, rather, to be clear. We must do our part as faithful citizens. But when it comes to voting for candidates, their policies can change. They may say one thing and actually do another. It's not simple. It's quite complicated. There are many political issues at the forefront leading up to the elections this November and beyond. Many of them address issues of life, whether it's capital punishment, immigration, living wage, at the forefront and the most fundamental, abortion and contraceptives issues, same-sex marriage, school vouchers, a lot of factors that come into play, universal health care, that impact the quality and dignity of life. And politicians and political parties run the spectrum. Good people can disagree about certain things, but our church's teachings are clear on all of them. How we vote and how well we are informed when we vote will be key. At the end of the day, good people can disagree. I celebrate the fact that I have friends on all sides of the spectrum politically that I vehemently disagree with, and yet we still remain friends, open, conversing, talking, praying, but above all, learning to listen. As we celebrate this Sunday, and the Scriptures command us to correct in love, let us not forget that in the tensions and the political conflicts that mark this year of 2020, among many other things that have been going wrong and have been difficult, we are called as Christians to love faithfully, to love in the truth, but above all, to never fail in loving our neighbor. As Paul tells the Romans today, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Love does no evil to the neighbor. Hence, love is the fulfillment of the law. So if you're ever going to err on the side of loving too much and then letting the Lord sort it out. Good people can disagree. This climate today is more tense than ever. And what we certainly need, in the midst of all the political opinions and differences and issues, what people say and what actually happens, we want to respect the dignity of life in all its forms, from conception to natural death. And that begins with how we treat one another, in the hopes that living that in the home, in our neighborhood, and in our parish, it may one day finally reach the halls of Washington and beyond, and transform our country to be like His kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. God bless you, and happy Sunday.